Howdy, y'all. This is Proverbs 5 in the HCSB for July 5th, 2023. My son, pay attention to my wisdom, listen closely to my understanding, so that you may maintain discretion and your lips safeguard knowledge. Though the lips of a forbidden woman drip honey, and her words are smoother than oil, in the end she's as bitter as wormwood and as sharp as a double-edged sword. Her feet go down to death, her steps head straight for Sheol. She doesn't consider the path of life. She doesn't know that her ways are unstable. So now, my sons, listen to me, and don't turn away from the words of my mouth. Keep your way far from her, and don't go near the door of her house. Otherwise, you'll give up your vitality to others, and your years to someone cruel. Strangers will drain your resources, and your earnings will end up in a foreigner's house. At the end of your life, you will lament when your physical body's been consumed, and you'll say, how I hated discipline, and how my heart despised correction. I didn't obey my teachers or listen closely to my mentors. I'm on the verge of complete ruin before the entire community. Drink water from your own cistern, and water flowing from your own well. Should your springs flow in the streets, streams of water in the public squares? They should be for you alone, and not for you to share with strangers. Let your fountain be blessed, and take pleasure in the wife of your youth. A loving doe, a graceful fawn, let her breast always satisfy you. Be lost in her love forever. Why, my son, would you be infatuated with a forbidden woman, or embrace the breast of a stranger? For a man's ways are before the Lord's eyes, and he considers all his paths. A wicked man's iniquities trap him. He is entangled in the ropes of his own sin. He will die because there's no discipline, and be lost because of his great stupidity. Short one today, and very focused on the ladies. So, telling him, his son, like, listen, I know this lady's a smooth talker, and I know she sounds nice and whatever else, but listen, it starts this way, but it ends another way. In the end, she's as bitter as wormwood, and as sharp as a two-edged sword. Trying to can't really grab a sword, especially a double-edged one. You just cut yourself, right? So, you think you might be able to handle things, but in the end, you're going to suffer a great deal of damage. And I don't know, this is no clean hands, right? But this doesn't seem to be like there's no clean hands, there's no innocent parties in this, right? So specifically it's saying, like, she doesn't consider the path of life, and she doesn't know that her ways are unstable. So it's like implying that you know better, my son, and you know better, but perhaps she doesn't. It's just business as usual. I guess I'll elaborate on that point. What I'm thinking is, I heard a short the other day. Somebody said that whales will eventually die in the water. You know what I mean? Like, in the thing they swim in all the time. They're in that world all their life, but they're mammals and they breathe air, so they got to come up to the surface, right? Meanwhile, all the fish around them have gills and can swim in the water, and that's not what kills them. They don't eventually drown. A whale will eventually drown because it's too weak or too sick to surface, and it'll basically just drown on the bottom of the ocean. So similarly, like, we're not of this world, right? And Jesus prepared us for that as well. So eventually we're gonna die here unless Jesus comes back. That's gonna overtake us. But the point I'm trying to make is the people of the world that are not, of the Spirit, that haven't been reborn yet, they're of the world. They're the fish. They're not going to drown. They breathe the water. This is business. This is what it is. This is all there is, right? So I don't quite grasp the point that I'm trying to make as far as, like, the no clean hands. It's like Because if you both know that you shouldn't do it, then you shouldn't do it, right? And a mistake is a mistake. But this implies like you know the mistake and you're enticed, and to her, it's not a mistake. She's just part of that world. Am I making any sense? Probably not. Thanks, self. Anyway, I'm talking to myself. I know there are a couple of y'all that watch these, and I super appreciate it. So thanks for listening to me ramble. And then I've said this before, but like this passage 5:15 and on makes me think like maybe I need to do a study on Song of Solomon. There's a lot of metaphors of like water, fruit, food, things like that, and that's not what it's talking about. It's very adult themes. So all the water, the flowing water, should your springs flow in the streets? They shouldn't be for you to share with strangers. Basically, like, love your wife, be attentive to her, stay loving her. And I think part of that is like the gracefully aging thing too, right? Because it's easy to see the younger model and be like, ooh. But, as Christians, we're called to be content in all things, and that includes our relationships. I got to watch how I say that. We should strive for optimal in our relationships, but I guess that relates to covetousness, not contentment, where it's not like, ooh, that person's more successful or better looking or this, that, or the other, more talented. You have what you have. You know what I mean? You've got your choice. You've got your wife. Stick with her. So, a man's ways are before the Lord's eyes. He considers all his paths. His iniquities trap him, and is entangled in the ropes of his own sin. That he will die because there's no discipline and be lost because of his great stupidity. Ooh. Yep. That's about right? You do it to yourself. You make bad choices, you get bad results. So, whole book of wisdom. It's like, learn the wisdom, right? Don't do stupid things. But I mean, even Paul, like, I know what the right thing is, and I still do the wrong thing. That's why we're supposed to be in this all the time and meditating on the Word. So, like yesterday, it's a light. It lights our path, and it becomes more apparent over time. With that, I am late today. Another late day. The moon's rising behind me. It's like orange and huge. It's the aftermath of the big buck supermoon. So, go out, admire the sky, praise Jesus, check out the fireflies, listen to the Spirit, thank the Father. I got an idea for some clothing I want to do, but I was considering, like, is it blasphemous to use, like, the name of God as a slogan? Two things come to mind. Carrying the Light has a song, and at the end, he's saying, like, I don't know how to do this, God, and God says, if there's no lane, you create the lane. All the people serving Satan do the same thing, right? So we need to be making our own way. And it was like, oh man, I don't know, I'm using like the name of God or holy words or something like that. And then I realized, like, I can't do it, right? The Spirit spoke to me and was just kind of like, you've been wearing it on your arm for 20 years, right? So I was confident enough then, and I'm confident enough now to defend it when people ask me about it. So I think I'm going to pursue that, and more on that soon. Wish me luck. Go with God. Be blessed.